It's week 6 in the NFL, and we've got questions such as, there are more backup running backs in action. Who are they, and should you start them?
Are the Patriots back? And if so, who would you consider starting against a very buff Bills D?
Is Chicago and Atlanta the fantasy all-stars of the young season?
And will Peyton and the Broncos deliver the Jersey knockout punch to Rex and the Jets?
All these questions and more answered on this week's Fantasy War Room Live.
Omaha!
Is my voice too high-pitched? You think it's a little too...
Is your voice too high-pitched?
Yeah, a little too much of a tenor?
No, I think it's actually pretty much, I think it's like congruous to your whole like persona and presence.
Thanks.
Why do you say that?
I don't know. I just think, like everybody, I don't like the sound of my voice. And,
I hate the sound of my voice.
You've got such a lovely baritone.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, for a long time, people always told me like, you got a nice voice. You should get into voiceovers. And I always thought like, who would want to listen to like the Charles Grodin ripoff of mine do TV? Like, he was an actor, very funny, hasn't been in a movie. Rent Beethoven, and then Midnight Run When You Actually Care.
Okay.
That was neither here nor there. By the way, a little behind the scenes action for everyone who's either watching or listening. There's something wrong with my earpiece, so I'm here. I don't know what you guys are hearing. I'm listening to microwave popcorn right now, and I'm just intermittently thinking I should pause the movie and get up, and I'm getting hungry.
You're always hungry for this show.
I am always ready to snack. And let's dig into this week. What a week of fantasy.
Yeah, let's talk about some fantasy football, shall we?
I got some overall questions to start off this week's edition of the War Room Live.
Okay.
And, of course, as always, I know you usually do this, but thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the live stream of our hot fantasy activity. Mm-hmm. People listen as well, right?
They do, sometimes.
On the Hot Shoe, but what's the hotshoebox.com?
Blog Talk Radio. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the Blog Talk Radio, and of course the YouTube.
I like to, you remember Pop-Up Video from VH1?
Yes.
I always like to say, Blog Talk Radio.
Do you do that? I do that as well sometimes.
Nice.
I like to take phrases or company names and add jingles and jinglify them.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a musical way of making a portmanteau, a word I learned from you.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh,
couple questions to start the week off this week.
Fantasy.
So now into the actual fantasy football thing. Overall, are you satisfied? I know it's an unpredictable game. Are you satisfied? And are you even maybe a little bit nervous heading into this week? Because it seems as unpredictable, crazy, and haphazard as ever. I'm almost giving up and just sort of starting whoever.
Yeah, I know that injuries happen every year. Mm-hmm. And yet, even still, it seems like this is more than usual. I think that part of it might be the game-changing. We're actually respecting head injuries now. And that concussion's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't also get hit in the head again this week. Take a week off, buddy. Mm-hmm. But that said, it's between the combination of injuries and star players that we drafted high on draft boards, Sean McCoy, it's really hard to know what you're going to get on a week-to-week basis here. And as someone who's supposed to prognosticate this sort of thing, makes the old job a little bit harder.
It does make our job a little bit harder because
we've got it bad. Feel bad for us.
Yeah, feel bad for us. Two guys that get to come in and dink around for an hour with each other talking about fantasy football.
Well, let's quit dinking and talk about quarterbacks this week.
Let's do it.
Okay. At the top of your chart, you've got. I can't argue with 1, 2, or 3. Number 1, Peyton Manning at the Jets. 2, Aaron Rodgers at Miami. 3, Philip Rivers at Oakland. Those are three very, very, very good quarterbacks starting against defenses.
Those are three. Obviously, they're the big three of the week. You're going to start those three any week, anyways.
Yeah.
Rare is the occasion that we would ever even consider subbing someone out for them or benching them. Peyton Manning last week really proved me wrong in the sense that he, against an Arizona defense that I thought was going to be pretty game coming into Denver, torched them. And that's a good secondary. Mm-hmm. We're talking about really well-paid respected cornerbacks and safeties, and they just absolutely blowtorch them.
I will say, of those top three, the one little concern I'd have is the guy who's played better than anybody else in the NFL to start the year, and that is Phillip Rivers. Oakland is weirdly competent against quarterbacks in fantasy terms, only allowing 16 fantasy points per game. Now, part of that has to do with the opponents he's faced. We're talking like kind of the bottom of the barrel in terms of the AFC quarterbacks. He's gone up against Geno Smith, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ryan Tannehill, Tom Brady, all the bottom of the barrel for quarterbacks.
How dare you try to look at me and deliver that with a straight face? How dare, that is a declaration of war between Uffistan and Stevensville. How dare you? I knew you were going to say that too.
Yeah.
I continue to marvel at Peyton Manning, and just to think what they're going to come in Sunday and do with that secondary in disarray. Like if you're this is one of those weeks where if you're playing Peyton Manning and you just check the box in the preview of the fantasy matchup, you may just why not take this week to see if any of your bench wants to prove itself? And if so, maybe spin him into a trade next week because you're probably going to lose.
Yeah.
The Jets are awful.
The Jets' secondary is really bad. The Jets are awful against the pass. They're kind of okay against the run.
They're kind of okay against the run, I know, and we'll get into why that will factor into different Broncos you should play later on. Curious if Aaron Rodgers may get sniffed out by his old offensive coordinator.
I actually have a sneaking suspicion that the Packers are favored on the road. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of a knee-jerk reaction. The Packers had one great game on offense, and so we're getting really excited. I think that the Dolphins might stun the Packers.
You think that could be upset?
I think
they're upset city this week?
I think they're at least going to cover, but I wouldn't be surprised if they won outright.
Is that your upset of the week? I'm sorry.
No, that was really good. That's we're gonna work that into a thing. Number 4 and 5 are playing each other. Matt Ryan, Jay Cutler.
All-star of the week. Big one.
That's two defenses that are really not very good, especially on the Falcons side. That's an easy start. And then Andrew Luck playing Thursday night at Houston. Facing up against J.J. Watt, but then, there's not a lot of support on the outside of J.J. Watt. I think Jonathan Joseph's banged up and questionable. Brian Cushing is also injured but should play. So Texans defense a little bit banged up. Andrew Luck should do well.
Cushing didn't get a shipment in time to get ready for the game this week? Allegedly. Andrew Luck is truly a marvel. I love 4 and 5. I think Cutler and Matt Ryan should each have a, playing Madden against your friend who is drunk and also playing it for the first time kind of roughshod run against each other's defense, because the Falcons can't stop anybody. And the Bears had a 24-7 lead last week in the third quarter against the Panthers and lost.
Yeah.
So that's embarrassing. But Andrew Luck, he throws at least a pick, if not two, every week. For some reason, I guess because he's got so much talent, he tries to force plays where they aren't, yet still comes back to lead his team to victory and will run for one and throw for two, or throw for one and run for two every week. He is having a huge season this year, and I didn't see it coming with that supporting cast around him. Leading
the NFL in passing yards and passing touchdowns through 5 games.
Impressive.
Yep, very good. Moving on down the list, Eli Manning is your number 7. Russell Wilson.
Not even on our list 3 weeks ago, by the way.
Well, that's because he was bad, Eli, to start the season. We the only concern I'd have about having him this high on the list is that we've had 3 consecutive weeks of good Eli, and we haven't had a single quarter of bad Eli. And he's waiting.
He's there.
And you're like, oh, the Eagles don't have a very good secondary. You can throw on the Eagles. Doesn't matter to bad Eli.
The Eli Manning that makes that face like the ice cream man drove right by our house.
I was waving. How could he not see me?
Come on.
Yeah.
That Eli's lurking, but the Eagles secondary is not very good.
No.
It's not very good. And the return of Odell Beckham, while it did disappoint Larry Donnell owners last week, Odell Beckham coming back in the game, looks like a pro receiver right out of the gate.
Yeah.
That's a receiving core he has to throw to now.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Eagles have enough people to cover them.
I do not think they do.
I don't think they do either.
Yeah. Number 8, Russell Wilson. I believe last week, was it me who was telling you had him ranked too low?
I may have had it, but did he finish top 5 like you said he would?
He had over 100 yards rushing, 122 yards rushing, a rushing touchdown, 2 passing touchdowns, over 200 yards passing. He was a top 5 quarterback last week.
Whatever. Yeah, the 122 yards rushing. that I did not see. He's going to surpass, I think, 700. He rushed for 700 yards last year in his rookie season, and he's already more than halfway there through 5 games.
Yeah, he's just good.
He's pretty awesome. Yeah. And his pass, he looked really good Monday night.
Yeah.
He did.
And again, had 2 touchdown passes called back from penalties. We're not going to complain about the refs. We're not going to complain about the refs.
No, I just thought it was fascinating that they happened. I thought it was fascinating that they happened to schedule a Brazilian parade at the same time that they did Patriots Bengals, because there were yellow flags being thrown all over green everywhere. Just another abysmal week. How dare the NFL shove this product down our face, make me take it, ask for more, and yet still riddle it with such incompetency? How dare you?
Nick Foles is your number 9 quarterback, and he has not looked good. He has looked worse. More interceptions and touchdowns over the last 2 weeks.
Is it because he's still recovering from that Jedi surgery to replace his hand? He wears that one stupid glove. Just wear 2 gloves or no gloves. I can't figure it. He has that glove on, and he always just looks. I know he looks a little bit like Napoleon Dynamite, but he's starting to play a little Uncle Rico-ish, to go full Dynamite. Like, you've got that many weapons, and to not have any sort of passing consistency, maybe the book is out. Maybe he's just not that good.
I think it's more than a maybe. At number 10, I would have certainly him above Nick Foles as Ben Roethlisberger at Cleveland. Joe Hayden might be out. And I think...
Oh, Antonio Brown.
Just like, I want to ignore all the teams that don't have Antonio Brown. Like I've got an array of fantasy teams, and only one of them has Antonio Brown. And I just want, I want to leave the 5 that don't have Antonio Brown out in the cold to die alone. And I want
what did they do to you?
They don't have Antonio Brown.
Fair enough. Is that what kind of dad you're going to be?
Probably.
If one of them will fetch your slippers and scotch, and the other one's just like, you know what? Hit it.
What have you done?
What if you find your own bed tonight?
Hit the bricks, Junior.
Expression I don't use often enough that I love. Hit the bricks. Roethlisberger. The reason why I kept him where I did and gave Foles a shot, just because I expect the shootout between the Giants and the Eagles, is that he disappointed us last week.
Yeah, he did.
It was not an incredibly well played game.
The Jaguars. No, you don't. That just makes me dislike the Steelers so much. I mean, I already, as a fan of one of the NFL's 31 other teams, I already hate the Steelers a lot. But like not showing up against the Jaguars and then just kind of like barely beating them thanks to a defensive touchdown. No, listen, you got to at least cover for me to respect you.
Yeah, there are a couple things I do when I wake up every morning. I change my child's diaper, I take a really long pee that sometimes hurts in the kidney area, and I hate the Steelers. That's how I start every day.
That's a good way to do so.
It should be a really good week for him, and also it should be noted, Ben just doesn't lose to the Browns. He is the nemesis of the city of Cleveland.
That's true.
Always comes up big against them, so we'll see.
At number 11, you've got Matthew Stafford. Calvin Johnson's out. We'll talk about that later on. Number 12, Cam Newton. Listen, Cam Newton, I understand that you have had ankle surgery. I understand you've got some cracked ribs. I also need to point out that it's week 6, and I need you to stop protecting your body. Because I'm tired of the numbers the passing numbers where it's 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. I need him to start running for 50 to 60 yards a game, maybe scoring on the ground too. Because this whole thing where he's playing like Trent Dilfer at his very best is just not doing it for me.
What world do we live in where you actually can compare, and within good reason, the numbers of Cam Newton to Trent Dilfer? At this point, you know what? Hey, Cam Newton, I'm ready to put in Nate the Play 60 kid over you. Yeah. He might even actually become your mom's favorite quarterback. Also, where do these NFL players get off thinking that they're out there for themselves and have the right to protect their body and their future when I'm the one who drafted them to play on my pretend virtual computer fantasy football team?
What about my suffering?
What about my first world problems, Cam Newton? What about my team?
All right, let's round out the top 15 and move on. 13, Tom Brady, back from the dead at Buffalo. If he can put together 2 consecutive games, not looking like dog caca, I would be very pleased for you. and for the general state of affairs.
Usually has pretty good games up in Buffalo. Has been picked off a few times up there, but he's only lost to Buffalo twice.
Yeah.
And Buffalo does have the #1 rushing defense. So watch the Pats try to run into the face of the line a bunch of times just to convince Buffalo that they're not going to throw it, only to lead Brady to throw it a lot in the second half.
All right, we'll see about that. Number 4.
And they have a second tight end now, too.
Yeah, I was wondering when they were going to break out Tim Wright.
Yeah, I was like, man, Aaron Hernandez is playing. Aaron Hernandez looks different.
Yeah, let's move away from Aaron Hernandez. Tony Romo at number 14. He's at Seattle. That's a tough matchup. Although the Seahawks this year, this incarnation of the Seahawks defense is ruthless against the run. #1 defense against the run, but can throw on them. They're kind of middle of the pack against the pass so far this year. 255 yards per game through the air they're giving up. Tony Romo should be able to throw. He should have an okay-ish game as long as he doesn't go full Romo.
Right. Oh. Full Romo is a scary place.
And then Ryan Tannehill to round out the 15. Sure.
Now, I went with Tannehill 15 because I figure Green Bay's probably going to put up a number of points. You know, this will be a classic Tannehill, 260, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Maybe if it's a big shootout and Philbin lets him kind of go at it the way that he would let Aaron Rodgers go at it when he was the OC of GB, maybe he'll go for a 323 and a 2. That's fine. Those are perfectly good numbers, especially if I had Breeze or if I don't like the matchup of somebody else.
Sure.
I considered putting in Hoyer as well, just because exactly. But then I was kind of do that. I mean, and look, and Tannehill and Hoyer and even Austin Davis, if you were super desperate,
Nope.
you know what they all are. All those options at the bottom of our listings are they're like swimming in a lake. You much prefer a pool or especially the ocean. But you'll do it if you have to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, there's a perfectly good chance it'll be a fun swim.
I think like
Small chance of getting a fish bite or a diaper.
like Austin Davis is more like swimming in like a sewage ditch.
Oh, he's swimming in a river. Yeah. You don't know where that's going to take you. But it's water.
Yep. Andy Dalton was not brought up in that conversation at all. I think that that's to be determined with the whether AJ Green's playing or not, of course. Right. All right. Let's move on to running backs. Number 1 with a bullet, Marshawn Lynch. Just every week.
Yeah,
every week.
He deserves to have taken that, dare I say, dickish profile picture that they run during all the games. You know how everyone has their player card picture and they're all like looking right at the camera, like either like or hey. He's the only one. He's looking just off camera on purpose. Why? Because he's Marshawn Lynch and he knows he can. I think it's hilarious. It's dicky, but it's hilarious.
I have a friend who every single time that we take like a group picture, it'd be like me and like my best 5 friends from the Marine Corps, all with our arms around here, and Charlie would just like go like this. Just always just like turn 45 to 90 degrees away from the camera, and it's like, Charlie, come on, man.
I think it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, he was our Marshawn Lynch.
That's his thing.
Yeah. Arian Foster is your number 2 back. He is playing, of course, versus Indianapolis. In 6 career games against the Colts, he's averaged 125 yards plus on the ground against them. Yeah, I'd say
over $150 against the Cowboys last Sunday.
Looked really
the
good.
Best he's looked in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had that like nice burst, that upright speed, a lot of namaste, couple touchdowns.
The hamstring not snapping.
No,
That's always nice to see.
that's always a pleasure.
Number 3, Matt Forte at Atlanta. Falcons give up the most fantasy points to running backs in the league. Atlanta has allowed 10 rushing touchdowns in 5 games.
10 rushing touchdowns.
That is preposterous.
How do you allow 2 rushing touchdowns a game?
You're the Falcons.
Yeah, by being the Falcons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nobody else is even close to that crappiness.
No,
so yeah,
it's
Matt
such
Forte.
a bad defense. Oh, but they told us they were going to get tough.
Oh yeah.
This was the season they were going to get tough.
Yeah.
This was the season they were going to get tough to score 4 touchdowns on the ground on, apparently. You can only get 3. Sorry, Falcons opponents. Yeah, Forte could be huge in the screen game as well as just the flat-out, good old-fashioned direct punch-him-in-the-mouth game.
Agreed. Moving on, number 4. I'm surprised by how high you're putting DeMarco Murray on this list. At Seattle. Road game.
I don't want to doubt. I'm not. You know what I decided to do last week? I pulled up stakes, put the missus, the kids, the dog, and all the chow and the plates in the wagon. I've pulled up stakes. I am not in the doubting DeMarco Murray business anymore, even with his 4 fumbles on the season.
Yeah, and that's you know what? I appreciate your approach, and he certainly is. He has earned the right to be respected in this circle because the only 2 players besides DeMarco Murray who have started a season off with 5 consecutive 100-yard games, Jim Brown and O.J. Simpson.
great company.
Yeah.
In terms of
And
football stats.
Yes, exactly. Maybe don't want to hang out with them
I don't know
after
if I
hours.
would want to hang out with them for a number of different reasons. I definitely wouldn't want to date anyone that knows them.
Oh, man. Seattle, again, as we said, the number one rush D in the NFL, 2.6 yards per carry. They just came off of stuffing Alfred Morris, 13 for 29 on Monday Night Football. But short week, you know. You can talk yourself. Again, who's going to bench DeMarco
Great
Murray
line.
anyway?
You're not benching him. And
No.
yeah, will he probably fumble this week? Sure. And may he finally be headed for that 15 carry, 41 yard, 1 fumble, no touchdown game? It could happen. If it's going to happen anywhere, it may very well be in Seattle. But at the same time, he's done too much to bench
Agreed.
him. However, I brought it up to you before the show, and I'm going to bring it up again because I want to discuss it more because I feel like there are a lot of people that are suffering from, we'll call it now, they call it Occam's razor. It's McCoy's boggle. Because what the flip is wrong with LaShawn McCoy? I will not bench DeMarco Murray. I asked you before the show, I would consider benching LaShawn McCoy in a week, or just even in general. He's eating up a spot. There are guys that will score more points than LaShawn. A lot of people that'll score more points.
You played it. You asked me before the show, Andre Williams or LaShawn McCoy, and I said Andre Williams.
Yeah. So I guess we're all putting him in our top 10 or 6, 7, or 8 just because. And the Giants have a pretty good run defense too. So we're doing this now off reputation.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's at the point now, 5 games. 5 games is a big enough sample size.
Tis.
It really is. And if I've seen 0, if he's 0 for 5 so far, I guess 1 for 5 if we're being kind. He had a game with a touchdown.
He's half for 5.
I'm at the stage where I've been burned a little bit too much time. He's gonna have to prove me wrong. He's gonna have to work his way back into the starting lineup.
Right. That's like, okay, 5 games and he had 1 half a good game. That's like going out 5 times with a friend and that friend just getting absolutely hammered all 5 times. And one time it's like, hey, I drove us home. Yeah, but you blew a .21. And I shouldn't have let you get behind the wheel.
Did you or did you not get home?
Yeah. Did you get home? Did I order pizza?
Here's someone you have too low on your list. Number 8, Gio Bernard versus Carolina. Carolina is 32nd in the league in yards per carry is allowed. 5.4, I think. 5.4 yards per carry. They gave up 12 catches to Matt Forte last week. Especially if you're in your PPR league, dude. Gio Bernard is going to have a huge game against the Panthers.
Yeah, there were people that had him ranked higher. Again, I probably fell victim to reputation alone and not, following the numbers on this one. Maybe a little too much hunch and gut when, in fact, Gio probably should be a top 5 pick this week.
Yeah, sorry, hunch and gut.
Yeah, it's all right. It happens.
Andre Ellington,
though. Welcome back.
Man, that felt great.
That's what I'm saying for McCoy. Have one of those 29.5-point games like Ellington did last week.
Yeah.
Showed game-breaking speed. That's a tough one to say.
It is.
Game-breaking speed, elusiveness, and it was shown in both the running game and the pass game. A little double dip, and that's why we draft guys like him and Gio Bernard. They're not the best between the tackle runners. Where you run the ball doesn't get me points. I just need yards and touchdowns.
Correct. And I've got a couple different half-point PPR leagues. You get them catches. I like that very much. Thank you. Let's go move on to 11 through 20. Number 11 and 12, you got a couple of the waiver wire heroes, Brandon Oliver at Oakland and Andre Williams at Philly. I like both these guys this week. Brandon Oliver I like a lot better than Donald Brown, just on very very little I've seen of him. And Andre Williams, he is a nice start this week, and what's so nice about him is that for the last 2 weeks, we've seen extended spot play from him, where Rashad Jennings, got pulled early because the Giants were kicking butt, and also Rashad Jennings got hurt early in the game. We got to see a full half of Andre Williams.
So he should be ready to carry the rock.
And now it's like I've already seen a couple weeks of 60+ yards and a touchdown from Andre Williams. I'm ready. Yeah, go ahead and.
Yeah, I'm completely all in. He's the one who's worth spending a third of your waiver wire budget. If he was dropped.
I put in $27 for Andre Williams, and it was the exact same as the winning bid, and then I lost out on waiver priority.
That happened. That's happened to me before.
And that's in my league. That's in my league where Jamal Charles is on bye. Oh, or no, Monte Ball's injured. Yeah.
Now Brandon Oliver is going to go. What do you think would be inappropriate? Let's say you're in a league where it's $100, and that's your waiver priority budget for the season.
Yeah.
You said you went for 27 on Andre Williams, and I think people are probably spending up to 30.
Yeah.
What would you put in for Brandon Oliver? Says a guy maybe or maybe not next to you.
Same league, I put in a bid of 16 for Brandon Oliver. He went for 30.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that was insane. I thought that was way too much.
I wonder, do I need to win that bad this week, or do I believe in the guy?
I don't know, because here's the thing. Ryan Matthews is going to be back in 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks?
Right.
Sometime in the next couple of games.
But the Woodhead role, like they're still auditioning people for the part of Danny Woodhead and San Diego Chargers the musical.
I guess it really just depends on how you feel he's going to do the rest of the season.
Right. Well, a lot of people have made very favorable comparisons to Darren Sproles.
Yeah.
With a little more size.
Yeah.
And
a little bit more.
I like those. Yeah. A little. Yeah.
13 Frank Gore. He should be higher. At St. Louis, they're piss poor against the run. 5 yards per carry. 15 Lamar Miller. Hey Lamar Miller, you had a good run of things. Guess what? Kenosha's back.
Possibly.
Possibly.
He is wearing a Gronk-like Uber brace. I don't think he's going to steal all the carries the first week back.
No.
But Noshawn did look like the better of the two, though Lamar has kind of eased his way into being a reasonably good RB2.
He's produced reliably in the starting role. 64 yards, 2 touchdowns, I think, last time out. And I would say this would be kind of like his last little dalliance.
Right. This would be his last time on the stage.
Because then Lamar Miller, the clock strikes midnight, and the coach turns back into a pumpkin. Yeah.
It's been fun. Green Bay, you can run against them, but they do have the third stingiest pass defense. So I would expect that's why I would expect more Lamar Miller.
And then rolling out the bottom here, Ronnie Hillman. I'm as we talk about blowing your waiver budget. I would not have gone so hard on Ronnie Hillman because I don't know.
People are throwing money at him like they're drunk sailors.
You don't know who's going to come out of that scrum.
Right.
And it seems like Ronnie Hillman's going to get the start, but like whatever. There's just like a trio of backs.
Right. So there's C.J. Anderson, who was inactive last week, but a lot of people think could still be a quality NFL running back. Then there's Juwan Thompson, who got a couple carries and pilfered a touchdown as well. And Ronnie Hillman carried the bulk of it. And they've said that he's more of a change of pace guy than he is a feature back. But because he's had the most experience and the Jets are good against the run, make no mistake. As I told you earlier, I think the Jets as a whole, as a team, except for the fact that they've got a good run defense, are a flaming locomotive running down the tracks towards an oil tanker. And that oil tanker has hostages.
Oh, no.
It's going to be a mess. I know, the poor people, what do they do? It's a disaster, but they can still stop the run. Ronnie Hillman may get his juice and love this week in the screen game.
You got, we need to wrap up the running back talk. You got any sleepers you kind of like this week?
No, just the fact that the McCoy thing is what really is obviously has continued.
Really grinds your gears.
It really does.
Really burns your bacon.
I really would like to tell him to hit the bricks.
I will say right now in a couple leagues.
Maybe Sankey. I was thinking maybe Sankey because he's playing Jacksonville. But he had a disappointing week last week. And that's a week where they should be focusing on him because they got out to because Clipboard Jesus got them out to a 28-3 lead. So that's when you should just be relying heavily on the rookie back. And they couldn't do much at all.
No, they couldn't. I've picked this the Falcons' fourth string running back up in 2 different leagues, just as kind of like a speculative bench stash.
Antone Smith.
Breakaway
speed,
4 touchdowns, and this week Mike Smith says we've got to figure out a way to get him more touches.
He actually looks like the best running back out of all of them. Everybody put their money in early on drafting Devonta Freeman. I think we're a year or 2 away from him. Antone Smith.
Yeah, and he did the same thing late last season too. So I'm making that little early investment, so I don't have to play the waiver wire game. If I get desperate, I'll play him.
He's a real team player too. You can only find one eye. I'm still trying to figure out who named him Antone. What's with the Antoine?
All right, let's move on. Wide receivers. Oh, welcome back, Demaryius Thomas.
No.
Right where you belong, sir. 8 for 226 and 2 touchdowns. And here's what I really like: 16 targets.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning went there a lot.
And it was a statement game for Peyton Manning and for Demaryius Thomas because, okay, we're going to get the highest paid cornerback in the league. I'm going to show you who I probably think is going to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league can do on you. And he went to work on him last week.
Yes, sir. And we'll do more of the same to the Jets. Like, if he could do that against Patrick Peterson, what's he going to do against the Jets? Again, he won't do that again. But
Right.
like he
could. I mean, there
Nothing
are going to be burnt shadows on the ground in MetLife Stadium. It's going to be sad. I love it.
The rest of your top 5 all looks good to me. Julio Jones versus Chicago. Antonio Brown at Cleveland.
Oh, can't wait.
Alshon Jeffery at Atlanta, ahead of your Brandon Marshall.
Now, see, Brandon Marshall had a tough week last week. Alshon Jeffery did get to the 6-point house, made a great catch.
Yeah.
Everything to me, signs are pointing towards, because Alshon Jeffery had either 2 or 3 humongous games last year, which gave him the totals, basically his totals for the year. His stats were commensurate to Brandon Marshall, but
it was all
Marshall was more consistent.
Yeah.
There's something just reeks of, good God, him and those giant hamburger helper hand gloves are just going to go out there and go 10 for 220 and 2 touchdowns this week. I could see that.
All right, interesting. I'm not going to disagree because I don't particularly know. I like Alshon Jeffery starting every week. Jordy Nelson at Miami. Miami is surprisingly good against the pass, and
They have 2 good cornerbacks, 2 tough, well-sized cornerbacks.
And I do think this is my idiotic hunch of the week. The fact that we're referencing my feelings that the Dolphins are going to play the Packers tough. Jordy Nelson's still going to get his.
Yeah.
He always does. A.J. Green, number 6 versus Carolina. He was carted off the field at practice today. That's TBD. Obviously, if he's not playing, he's not on the list.
So that's, sorry, A.J. Green.
Yeah.
Already jumped.
Moving down.
Mohamed Sanu would possibly jump into the top 20, though, if A.J. Green is out. And Mohamed Sanu is not on our top 20. And he did catch a touchdown last week and threw one the week before. I
have been begging fantasy owners who refuse to own him in like, he's like owned in 30% of leagues every single week. It's like, pick up Mohamed Sanu. He's just getting it done every week.
Yep.
Now, is he doing well because A.J. Green's sucking up the toughest coverage? Is he necessarily going to do better just because A.J. Green's out? I don't know yet, but obviously, Mohamed Sanu's a great play regardless. Rounding out the top 10, Randall Cobb, yes. Jeremy Maclin, sure. Victor Cruz, and then number 10, Andre Johnson. I said on Victor Cruz because he actually has fewer targets and touchdowns than Ruben Randall.
I know. And with Beckham back now, too.
And here's the thing about that Giants offense, even though we've seen good Eli for the last 3 weeks, with 3 kind of like what seems to be 3 equally competent wide receivers. Again, Odell Beckham, very, very small sample size. We don't know, if there's what that's going to be like moving forward. But between Cruz and Ruben Randall getting about the same number of targets, Randall's been targeted 10 times each of the last 3 weeks. And now Beckham in the mix, and then Larry Donnell at tight end getting the red zone looks.
But this may finally be, even though it's a different offense altogether, this may finally be what allows Victor Cruz to go back to the role he thrived in so well in 2011. 2 big wide receivers on the outside drawing the coverage and getting to go back to the slot game, which is where he deserves to be. That's where he does his best work. He's not an outside. He's not an X.
His 70-yard catch and run slant.
Right.
Yeah.
Followed by the dance and followed by the stadium going Cruz.
Yeah, Cruz. Giants, baby.
Hey, by the Giants. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm already in Arizona.
11 through 20. Brandon Marshall at Atlanta. That's a great play. Mike Wallace versus Green Bay. Des Bryant. Wow. Even now you just put DeMarco Murray in the top 5 running backs, but Des Bryant gets bumped down to 13.
Because DeMarco Murray is going to see the ball 20 times no matter what. I don't know if Des Bryant's going to do it. Plus, also, if he gets your Shermanator and perhaps even meets with the Chancellor for a little bit, that opens things up. Now, I know the other cornerback is also very good.
Byron Maxwell.
Was he a little banged up?
Marcus Burley, who they acquired him for a 6th rounder, is playing a lot of slot corner. I think Maxwell's actually doing okay.
Okay. Terrence Williams, great touchdown again last week, scoring like a madman.
Terrence Williams has 5 touchdowns in 5 games, just getting it done. And Des Bryant only 4 touchdowns, but only 4 touchdowns. He's been such a disappointment this year.
Right.
No, I definitely like Terrence Williams to start this week. I keep rolling with Des Bryant.
You're starting him.
Yeah.
Just temper your expectations.
Yeah. Okay. Emmanuel Sanders, thumbs up. Keenan Allen, back to disappointing again last week.
I don't like that Keenan Allen.
Maybe just a slow start. I don't know. What's going on?
Is he hurt? I just want to know.
Yeah.
I just want to know. Are you hurt? Are you not as good?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Is this just a sophomore slump? You need some time to get...
What actually helped me keep him in the top 15 overall was the fact that I saw a Q pop up next to Malcolm Floyd.
Oh, yeah.
And I opened the window and I heard his hamstrings crying in the wind, and I was like, oh, this could be his week.
As with every year, Malcolm Floyd just gets injured every year.
Yep.
Speaking of Floyds, Michael Floyd is your 16th, ahead of Percy Harvin versus Dallas. Percy Harvin, and I lost two different games where I had started Percy Harvin last week. Yeah. That would have been victories had 2 touchdowns not been called back.
Mm-hmm. But it's coming though. But here's your team. Like I texted you, your real team won, so hooray!
Yeah.
And also think about all the promise and potential and the fun that's to come, because they're trying to get him in. And one of these weeks when he finally goes off.
Here's the thing. He ended up having, if you're going with half-point PPR, he had something like 5.4 points on Monday Night Football. It would have been like 24-point-something points. Mm-hmm. Like, he was like that away from having a 24-point game monster. That will happen. That will happen.
How much more delicious I know you kids are starving. I know. I didn't expect it to take this long, but how much more delicious is it going to be when we finally serve it? And it is coming.
Yeah. Let's round out the top 20 here. Mm-hmm. Michael Floyd, we mentioned. Steve Smith Sr. at Tampa Bay. He's been getting it done.
Yep.
We've doubted him, and he has punched a baby in the face for every time we've doubted him. Kelvin Benjamin at Cincinnati. That's a tough matchup for the rookie.
It is. And he dropped a lot of balls last week.
Didn't look so good.
Well, I do it metaphorically. He did it literally. Only 5 of 13 on the targets. Still ended up with a decent day, but that's because Cam Newton doesn't have anyone else to throw the ball to whose name doesn't rhyme with Feg Molson. Greg Olson rhymes with.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And we've also got, we should mention Roddy White and Deshaun Jackson are, wait, I think I might have messed up the order, but yeah, Roddy White is your number 20.
Deshaun Jackson looks like he's actually coming back, which is great.
Oh,
it's nice
game on football.
He looks like he's back. I was wondering for a while, like once he got his big contract and went to the Redskins, once he got a chance to play the Eagles and show them up, was he just gonna, just grab the envelope, lick it, seal it, and then just mail in the rest of the season? Especially considering that he's got to know, just like the rest of us know, that the Washington football team is not going to the playoffs. But he's out there playing and catching big passes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's great to see his fantasy relevance return, too.
What about, as we wrap it up, are there any, talk to me about any sleepers you see this week? Or not even just sleepers, but like wide receiver 2, 3s that you think are worth mentioning.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Against Indianapolis.
Oh, yeah.
Sammy Watkins against the Patriots, if and especially if they decide to play zone as opposed to man. Mm-hmm. We've seen the weeks the Patriots have given up a lot of passing yards. They've played zone and haven't played the Revis Island game. Also, Brian Quick, even though it's San Francisco, because he's been scoring and pointing and just not being the guy that used to live on waivers when you had a bye week. I know. And lastly, Golden Tate.
Golden Tate, especially with Calvin Johnson out.
And he's angry too. He was so angry at Jim Schwartz getting carried off the field. And he never played for him.
That's what's so great about Golden Tate, is that if you have him on your fantasy team, if you have him on your personal football team, you look at him and you're like, oh, that guy's such a dick. But then you're like, oh, but he's good.
Right.
He's good.
Is he not in the NFL the definition of the guy when they say like, oh man, it's so fun to hate him, but you love him when he's on your team?
He's basically like Steve Smith with his collar popped.
Which of the two of them wins in a drunken back alley brawl?
Oh, Steve Smith. He's got that dad strength. Like Golden Tate thinks he's gonna win, but Steve Smith will have a shiv hidden in his like armpit.
He'll go full molar ram too. Like he'll reach in, grab the heart, and show it to you. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Like Golden Tate is gonna get by on like the punches to the balls and eye gouging. That's his thing. Steve Smith has brought a deadly weapon.
I would love to see that.
All right, let's talk tight ends. That's what we always do.
I look forward to that intro every week.
# butts. Number 1, Julius Thomas, every week. Seven touchdowns in 5 games. He has scored a touchdown, at least 1 touchdown, every single week this year.
He's got his coming to him, though, after that cheap shot on Calais Campbell last week.
Oh.
I don't know. Karma, you know what? Karma has the NFL Sunday ticket. Karma watches.
Really? Mm-hmm. I don't know. As someone who has Julius Thomas on 2 teams, I'm like, I really have no problem with cheap shot.
Go ahead, whatever.
Just keep scoring 20 points a game for me.
It's amazing because the guy didn't really even play that much football. One of those players that is kept around for a while based on his potential. You know, spends a lot of time taxi squatting and IRing it, and then just blows up last year against the Ravens in the Thursday night kickoff game, and kind of hasn't stopped since.
Nope.
Sometimes I wonder if people get confused, even though he's wearing the opponent's uniform, because he looks like a linebacker.
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
He's a large human.
And he's fast.
Yep.
And does not drop the ball either, which is the most impressive thing.
I want to talk about just the tight end position in general instead of specific names. There are so many pleasant surprises at the tight end position this year. That ordinarily it's just this wasteland where you're like, ugh, what am I going to do at tight end? And there's been all sorts of great surprises like Larry Donnell and Niles Paul. You can pick them up off of waivers at the beginning of the season. Still available in some leagues. And you've had great games from Gronk, of course, hasn't disappointed. Martellus Bennett has 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. Greg Olsen has 4 touchdowns.
Right.
Greg Olsen's been fantastic.
Right.
Heath Miller's even shown signs of being the old Heath Miller. Delaney Walker had that monster game, and he's been pretty reliable.
He's actually leading, and several weeks has actually led the Titans in targets. Even though we saw the resurgence, reemergence, and whatever else last week of Justin Hunter and Kendall Wright, Delaney Walker is the most targeted pass-catching human being on the Titans. So there you go.
Now, as we talk about...
Tim Wright.
And Tim Wright.
Welcome back.
He's number 14 on your list.
Would you start him this week?
You know...
Buffalo is slow at the linebacking position. You've got Brandon Spikes, who used to play for the Patriots. You still don't have Kiko Alonso. A suspect secondary, but a great front 4.
I don't know. I think what I want to see out of the Patriots before I invest in them, like my fantasy
chips,
my fantasy chips on Patriots players. I want to see what they did last week for a second game. I just want to know that yes, the Patriots are actually for real, and it wasn't just hey,
we're on to Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That it wasn't the whole we're rallying behind Brady to prove everyone wrong game, FU media, and now we go up to Buffalo and lose, 19-18 or something like that. Funny how I made the score of the Red Sox season that they won the World Series. Not much of a homer here, jeez. But I think Tim Wright actually. I think they waited to get him integrated, and with that sort of Hernandez Joker flex tight end role that he plays, which I think a lot of teams always look for someone to employ. Maybe they saw the chance to get another, Aaron Hernandez-like type of player, minus all the off-field transgressions, allegedly, and that was worth trading a lineman for. And also, they got a draft pick back in return, but it just changed the offense. There looked like there was a little bit of that dynamic back that made you think they can move the ball now because they're going to do these 20-yard downfield tight end play action passes and then run. Of course, actually, the fact that the Patriots have settled on an offensive line, and as my buddy Jerry Thornton said, they've stopped playing 3-guard Monty. Just having an offensive line now that you can stand behind and these are the same guys we're going to go to war with every week makes a big difference.
Well, I think it's gonna depend on the pass rush that Buffalo puts forth.
Kyle Williams might be out.
If they can get to Brady, then it could be Clayton's.
I swear, that's it for you, Brady. It's curtains and nothing short of it.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk defenses and special teams. Tell me how exactly the Philadelphia Eagles have scored 7 non-offensive touchdowns in the first 5 weeks of the season. 6 of the last 3 games. Because it's not a good defense.
No, it's not at all.
It's clearly
I can name, I think, 2 of them.
It's clearly a capable special teams unit, but my goodness.
Because it's D/ST.
I don't think, and I don't mean to piss on Philly fans and their excitement over this team.
They're Philly fans. They like it.
But I don't think that's something that's repeatable moving forward. I don't think it's a high variance thing that just freakishly happened a lot early in the season. Don't be playing the Eagles defense. Don't do that. Your number 1 defense this week is San Diego at Oakland. San Diego is actually a good defense, also playing a Jaguars-esque Raiders team.
Right. The punch and Judy attack of Derek Carr to Rod Streeter and Andre Holmes.
You know what? They have Maurice Jones-Drew back. Hater.
Tell me when to get excited.
And Darren McFadden. DMC. MJD?
Yeah, run DMC. Run straight onto the IR because that's where you're going to go. That's where you go every year. Yeah, I mean, San Diego, they were a defense that a lot of people bid on a few weeks ago. In one league, the league I take probably the most seriously or invest the most time, I needed a defense, and I also wanted to block the team I was playing who had a defense that was on the bye. So I bid on the Chargers, started them. They had a great week. I started them last week. They had another great week. Starting them again this week, I think they're going to have another great week. When you said earlier you bid $27 on Andre Williams and lost because of waiver priority, there were bids going from 9 to 10 to 11, and for some reason I just went back in and bid 12 at the last minute, and I was the guy that went in on eBay with like 50 seconds left, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to throw in 10 more bucks, and got it. And they've been great. It's a really solid defense.
Yeah.
And of course they are going to have to play the Broncos a couple times, but last year when they played the Broncos, they played them really well. It's a competent defense.
Yeah. And number 2, speaking of the Broncos, you've got them as the second defense there at New York, the Jets. I do think that that's a good play. I don't know if it's like the number 2 play. I went through the Jets previous weeks, and while they did obviously get shut out last week,
Gino goes to the movies?
they don't, for as LOL worthy as the Jets may be, they're only giving up about 2 sacks a game, only turning it over usually about once a game. And so there's a lot of defenses are just showing up with 4, 5, 6 points against them.
And that's actually kind of all the Broncos are offering, but about 6.5 points. I think they'll put up more this week because that's just a pick 6 party waiting to happen.
It's true. You're right.
It is. It's going to be so good.
Number 3, you've got the Cincinnati Bengals. They're versus the Panthers. That's a great play. That's a great defense. Seahawks versus Dallas. Seahawks defense has not really put up a lot of points. They haven't been forcing as many turnovers.
Right, that's the issue.
They're still they only got 1 sack on Monday Night Football. They haven't been getting much of a pass rush. It's kind of looked like the Jets defense with the better secondary, just stopping the run, but still kind of allowing some passing yards, not forcing a lot of turnovers. I do think that can change. You've got Tony Romo, who can throw an interception with the best of them. DeMarco Murray, who's got some fumble problems. I think they can turn it around this week a little bit. San Francisco, I would have higher on this list. St. Louis is giving up tons of points to fantasy defenses. I actually think that they're the worst in the league they're like a bottom 5 team in terms
They feed
of
the D.
Yeah.
Right. I know. Austin Davis, while scoring a surprising amount of fantasy points, does play with a little Sandlot Joker's wild style. I mean, and why wouldn't you? Because it's all house money.
Yeah.
No, he didn't even know who he was, and now he's the starting quarterback of the Rams.
He was 1 step ahead of stocking shelves, and then and now he's starting quarterback.
The old Kurt Warner reference.
New England at number 6 at Buffalo. That's a homer pick.
It's Kyle Orton. He threw a pick 6 last week. That's what he does.
True.
And that was against Detroit. Can you name anyone in the Detroit secondary?
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying. Just saying. It was not a very sexy week for D. Defense.
It's fun to say
I
D.
gotta coach myself out of being a 7-year-old for the rest of my life. But
That's all right.
basically, Arizona versus Washington. Okay, that's good. I mean, I can't imagine they're going to score a ton. Detroit at Minnesota. The Detroit defense is good.
Detroit defense is very good.
Yeah, it's very good, but I'm not expecting a lot of running yards out of Minnesota in the first place.
You're either going to get rookie quarterback
You're going to get some Teddy Bridgewater picks?
You're either getting rookie quarterback or Christian Ponder. And by the way, can I just say,
I don't hate on Ponder the way the rest of the world
as soon as I found out that Ponder was starting, I went home. I found out on my trip home, and I went in and I went directly to my computer. And I picked up Green Bay and started them that night, and I felt great about it.
Reaped the bennies.
Yes.
Eggs Benny.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and
maybe I could have. It was a lot of fun. I feel bad for the guy.
Seems like a nice person.
Somebody that smart and who's seemingly that affable and good looking really just shouldn't be that.
And like a very good athlete too.
Right. Seems to be making all the right reads. Just can't get it done. And he needs to have a show called Christian Ponder Can't Win. It'd be like an old Fox sitcom,
Sure.
Yeah, sure, whatever you say, Nick.
Sorry,
It's fine.
I'm trying not to say anything mean about his family life, and I think that he's a great person, and I hope he has a nice career after football.
I wish him well. I hope he doesn't get caught in a lot of traffic. I hope he gets to pays his bills on time. I hope his Netflix streams accordingly.
Exactly.
Good luck. You know what? Good luck, Christian Ponder. You've got a nice life ahead of you.
I think that's all we need to say about defense this week.
Yeah, then there's the Giants, Minnesota, and go Pack, go.
Yeah, I got nothing to add there. Baltimore, Tampa Bay could be a good one. Baltimore's been a very good defense. I just don't know what to expect out of like Mike Glennon every week, and sometimes he's
looked surprisingly competent.
Yeah, I look at him and I'm like, that guy's got to suck at quarterback, and then he actually like makes some plays and good throws. And I don't know.
Really good throws. He's got a strong arm.
And I'm like, but look at his face.
He shouldn't be playing quarterback.
Look at that nerd.
He should be standing behind the counter, like worried about trying to fill the sandwich orders at the deli.
I gave that nerd a wedgie. What's he doing being the quarterback of a pro NFL team?
Oh, pencil neck Glennon, will you ever win?
All right, let's talk about people's fantasy football questions.
All right.
The best part of the show.
I always love the old Q&A.
Yeah, friend of the show.
I fill it up and I call it the Q&A hole.
Yeah. Friend of the show, Mighty Feckler, says he has one flex spot, Ahmad Bradshaw or Percy Harvin.
Whew. Do you think Percy Harvin is going to draw Scandrick?
I have no idea.
Right.
I don't know, because the way that he's used in that offense is in motion, on bubble screens, and very occasionally on the deep bomb. He's not the sort of wide receiver that's getting jammed at the line and is just going up against the teams like number
He's an
one,
OW. He's a weapon.
cornerback. Yeah. So I would go Percy Harvin. Here's why. A, I'm a shameless homer. But B, I think that he's got that higher ceiling. Ahmad Bradshaw is gonna have a fine game. Like he'll run for 40 yards. He'll catch
passes
a couple
for 60.
passes, maybe 30, maybe 60.
He's fine. He's scoring a lot. I think he's got 4 touchdowns on the season.
Yeah.
Still fumbling though.
Still fumbling.
Still
injury prone. And, well, Percy Harvin's also injury prone. But
right. I was gonna. Yeah.
Yeah, but we talk about Percy Harvin was 2 calls away from 24 fantasy points. And he still hasn't actually been served the way that the Seahawks.
And 'tis a slightly better run defense than pass defense that Houston does offer, and they're at home.
Yeah.
So I'd say I'd go Harvin.
Yeah, and also Thursday night. I don't like betting on Thursday night football because it's just.
Plus, there's the whole thing of like, oh, great, he played on Thursday and he didn't do well. Well, now Friday and Saturday are ruined.
Yeah. All right. Friend of the show, M. Duffster, says pick 2.
The Duffster.
Pick 2 out of Julian Edelman, Cordero Patterson, Kenny Britt, or Keenan Allen.
Oh, Duffster.
Edelman, Patterson, Britt, Allen.
Stop shopping at the Fantasy Dollar Store. We have to get you a credit card so you can go to Fantasy Macy's or something and get you some name brand stuff. I feel bad. Duffster's wearing Wranglers. That's a shame. Duffster, come on. Okay, Edelman.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen. Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson.
Cord Patterson.
C-Pat.
And Kenny Britt.
No to Kenny Britt. He did score last week, but just no to Kenny Britt.
Yeah.
This Tuesday, when you go to the polls, say no to Kenny Britt.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Welker used to light up the Bills when he played for the Pats.
I'd go Allen and Edelman.
I'm going to go Allen and Edelman.
Yep. All right, that's an easy one. Let's move on.
Yep.
DJ Ross says Lions defense and special teams or Broncos. I think you have Broncos.
I was higher on the Broncos, but you just spent a portion of our program telling me that I should have maybe bumped the Lions up a bit.
Yeah.
And they are facing a bunch of backup running backs and a rookie quarterback outdoors in a college football stadium.
The Lions defense is mean. I think that as much as I like laughing at the Jets on offense, I'm bullish on the Lions defense.
Well, look at it this way. What do you want? What if you can take the chance? If it's not going to hurt you, like, here's the thing. With the Lions, you're going to probably be playing for a little more consistency because they haven't really gotten torched all season.
Yeah.
They'll probably get to Bridgewater a couple of times. There may be a fumble and maybe a pick. But there's the higher ceiling for just absolute garbage time and bed crapping with the Geno Vic.
Yeah, I think they're both good plays. I would go with, like, if you don't have Red Zone or Sunday Ticket, I'd look to see which game's on locally. because that way, and I'd go with that defense just so I could watch it in real time.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Consistent play as the Lions. If you can afford to take the chance, go with the Broncos.
John Ham wants to know Alfred Morris this week or Justin Forsett. Alfred Morris is playing against the Cardinals, who are allowing 3 yards per carry, second best run defense in the league.
They're fired. They'll be coming home. They're stout run D. They're going to come home. They play great at home. They're fired up after keeping it close last week in Denver, only to get waxed in the end. Justin Forsett in Tampa.
And that's
the best of the three they have to offer between him, Bernard Pierce, and
Lorenzo Taliaferro.
Sure.
Yeah.
I always love, when I order Taliaferro, I like to get it I like to get the oxtail braised on top, like with a little nice shaved Parmesan.
Oxtail is a delicious cut of meat.
Surprisingly good cut of meat.
I was scared of it just because I was like, who wants to eat the tail? That's weird.
It's like brisket. You have to cook it for a long time.
I went to Jamaica, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going for it. And it was great.
It was great, right?
Yeah. Strongly recommend.
And you know what? That probably wasn't the riskiest decision you made in Jamaica all week.
Indeed not. And you know what? To bring this full circle, so yes, go with Justin Forsett.
Exactly. That's exactly why you go with Forsett.
He is fantasy oxtail.
Fantasy. I am hallway pizza to his fantasy oxtail.
Let's see here. Canine Gal says, Hillman versus Chris Ivory, who should I bench? Yee.
Why not? Now, see, that's interesting. She's probably a pain in the ass on a date because she didn't ask it like, who should I start? It was, who do I bench?
Well, don't make those inferences. I'm sure she's a lovely person.
I do want her to keep watching, so thank you for asking the question.
She's probably a lovely person.
At least because you're a dog guy too, I know.
Yeah.
Who do I bench?
Chris Ivory or Ronnie Hillman?
Well, who do you expect a bigger game? I mean, Ivory's averaging over 5 yards a carry. He looks like the best running back for the Jets. We know that. The Jets have a much better run defense. And Peyton Manning has no reason not to throw until it's late in the game and they're up by 400.
This is tough because sometimes...
You just can't score.
Because sometimes you want it, like, all things being equal, you go with the better offense. And the Broncos obviously have the better offense. But all things aren't equal. Like, Ronnie Hillman is not a better player than Chris Ivory. Chris Ivory has looked really good this year. Jets are going to try to control the ball. I would say bench Hillman and start Ivory. And that feels insane. That feels insane because Ronnie Hillman's got a better chance to get touchdowns.
I got to go. See, I got to go with the better offense.
Yeah.
What gives me the best chance to be able to get as many points as possible? Chris Ivory. Where is the Jets hosting Broncos game where Chris Ivory has 120 points and 2 touchdowns?
120 yards? 120 points would be...
He has 120 points.
120
yards and 2 touchdowns. Where's the game where Ronnie Hillman, the Jets are finally just gassed and he just gets a junky touchdown?
65 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, a couple screen... Yeah, in your half-point PPR, he puts up a 17-point day, and that's,
right. I'll give that to you.
I got to go Hillman.
Yeah, all right. You've convinced me.
Okay.
There we go. All right, KV Smoove says, stuck with waiver wire scraps. Options are Jordan Reed, Tim Wright, or Eric Ebron. Who's best for PPR Week 6? Interesting. Jordan Reed, Tim Wright.
We're not sure if he's going to play yet.
Jordan Reed, I think...
Excellent tight end.
Yeah, I don't think that he's going to be playing much. If he does, it'll be limited snaps.
Yeah.
Limited snaps.
Now, you can score tight end-wise against the Cardinals. We know that.
Yeah.
They do give up a lot of points to the tight end. Earlier, you heard me singing the praises
of Tim Wright.
And if he is fully integrated into the Patriots offense now, he's going to become I think he could become a regular threat. If 5 for 45 is cool by you.
Yeah. At the tight end position.
Eric Ebron, we don't know yet.
Eric
Didn't
Ebron,
score last week.
Although Calvin Johnson is out.
Oh, that's right.
Megatron's out, and Ebron had a touchdown that was. It was initially ruled a touchdown and then ruled that he dropped the ball like at the 1-inch line. Man, Ebron feels like a gamble, but then so does Tim Wright.
We're ruling Reed out. Good to hold on to him for the future. That's like an in-season keeper because he may very well come around.
Who do you feel like gambling with? I might go Eric Ebron just because Calvin Johnson's out. And there's only so many throws that can go to Golden Tate.
If you're half or full point PPR, I would go. Right.
And the Lions' offense is missing Joique Bell. Reggie Bush is questionable. He's day-to-day. with a sprained ankle right now.
We got a sprained ankle and a concussion, and we're missing Calvin Johnson.
I think Ebron is going to have to step up.
You know what? I think today we're playing, it's not the war room. I think today we're playing I said you sell. And where someone says something and the other person sells them on it.
Yeah, we've done really well with that.
I'm in. Double E.
All right, let's go one more one more question.
From?
And this is from NoelJag2112. Wow.
So, went to Florida State,
and
stuck being a Jaguars fan and a Rush fan. That's awesome.
So, Romo or Brady this week? And I know what you're going to say.
Oh.
Romo or Brady? Tony Romo is on the road in Seattle.
They're both low QB1s.
Yeah. I don't know who I'd go with. I think I might go with Romo, just because I think.
What are the odds that he goes 250, 2 touchdowns? He's got to throw a pickup. There's just going to be one ill-advised jump ball to Des Bryant that someone's coming down with.
Here's the thing.
Strip sack.
I think that Romo can be sacked. He might have a fumble. He might have an interception, maybe 2 tops. But he's also going to accrue yardage. He's also going to throw for 250 yards, 1 maybe 2 touchdowns. Tom Brady might throw for 123 yards and no touchdowns in a win.
Which would be fine. I'd have zero issue with that whatsoever. And qualms need not apply.
While I think that Tom Brady might have a higher ceiling in that game, or we might see amazing old school Tom Brady like we saw against the Bengals last week, but I feel like I'm still wary of Brady. The early season swoon from the Patriots, I don't know if that's fully in the past or if that's going to be a season.
Romo's averaging about 15.5 points a game on the season, whereas Brady's only averaging, I think, about 11. I expect Brady to throw for about 270 and 2 touchdowns this week. There'll be 1 turnover of some kind. I'm hoping it's not a strip sack that turns into 6 for the Bills. I could see Romo just sort of living up to his billing. I guess if they were on my team, I would start Romo this week because I do want to take the wait and see approach with Brady, and if you can afford that, go for it.
But sorry about your choices.
I know.
And sorry you just wasted an hour of your life listening to us talk about fantasy football.
Psyched, man. That was the best hour, easily, of the last hour.
Yeah, those were of the last 60 minutes, and those were the top
my favorite
50 or so.
Right. There's a good 45 in there that I would hold on to. And I'd relive if given the chance.
We'll edit out none of the bad stuff.
Nope.
Thanks, as always, for watching on SB Nation, watching on YouTube, listening on Blog Talk Radio, and for you folks who watch the live stream as it's actually happening.
Yeah.
You are the real loves of our lives.
Right.
Besides
besides
Antonio Brown.
And Antone Smith.
Yeah.
And Jordy Nelson.
Yeah.
Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah. We've got a lot of loves.
Chargers D.
That's it for this week's episode. If you've got additional stuff going on, hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Matt Alfred. He's at Ahoy Nick Stevens. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.